I look at some of these like rappers, they have access to resources, but the mentality is crazy. So they're going to end up with a certain type of woman, a woman with sense.
She mismatches. She matches.
That's a straight mismatch. So sometimes it's not just about resources, the other things that are attached that comes along with it as well. Some women are just strictly about resources and don't care. But I think majority of women fall in that thing like, yeah, I like the would like access to the resources, but I know I would not be able to marry this man because we're just not compatible.
Somebody needs to create an app that lists all the professions and all the height and all the criteria that people want, and then cross reference it to like one of the social networking sites. And then once one of these guys get checked off, cross that off so women can see the available dating pool, and same app for women where they got the weight, height, and the attitude issues that's been listed by ex-boyfriend. I'm gonna think about this. I'm not gonna
Why'd
be.
you just, why'd you just
Don't
say
be
the
that idea. You know.
I'm gonna think about this.
It'll only be $50 a month though, compared to we were talking about earlier, Marcus, about the league being a.
And let me just say this: people keep
Nah,
throwing this whole marriage thing out, and I read a article. I read two actually. One, baby boomers. There are more single people now than ever before in their old age, and not because they weren't single before; they just divorced. One.
Yeah, they call them
Or
gray
dead.
divorces.
Oh, widow. Yeah, widow.
Yeah, they call them gray divorces.
Right. And then think about people who like my grandmother. My granddaddy died years ago. My great grandmother outlived my granddaddy for 20 years. So, and she continued to stay single. So we can't, even if you're married, that doesn't mean it protects you from being single at some point for a period of time, you know. So I think when you put so much dependency on another person anyway, it's gonna affect you, you know. But so let's just keep that in mind as well. But obviously, so that the question was when Marcus said, well, what'll happen when they guess the pool is small. Some people just don't care. What else are we gonna go? Streets, they don't care. They feel like, hey, you're gonna be single anyway. Some people just think that way.
I think like with our grandmothers that went through that, because I know a fairly amount of widow women. What they still was able to do because they built that previous family structure is lean into their family when the person died. And the way it's trending now, it doesn't look like people have families to lean into in their older age. And I don't know, like the club ain't gonna hit the 50 and 60. It's just not. The BBL gonna drop.
It will drop,
and your money ain't gonna
Listen,
your buddy ain't gonna feel the same. Like when you go out, you go in the club.
Well, I
totally
it's
I think part of that is the world has gotten smaller. Families have grown apart. Like the United States, I'm just talking about the United States. It is a big country. So if you move 13 hours away, I mean that's essentially what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like the world has gotten smaller due to the social media and the communication tools, but we are further apart than we ever have been.
In the breakdown of the family. So then when people run, and this is obviously completely off topic, but when people run into emergencies or things like that, or fall on rough times, or even like I used to volunteer with the Red Cross, even when they had house fires, could they, lean on family? You know what I mean? It's things like that, especially if your family has not built a foundation, and usually a foundation comes with some sort of stability with finances, even if it's not like, luxury, it's still something.
It's so funny. And I thought about this, especially if you've never been married. Like my grandmother, she was very close to her brother. And so he ended up passing away, but he had no kids. He was married, but he had divorced a long time ago, and that woman had passed away. And so who did it fall on? My grandmother's us. You know, and luckily he had
Mm-hmm.
us to step in because he didn't have kids of his own to step in and
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, we'll take care. But a lot of people don't have that. When you don't have kids and you don't have people after you to take care of your what's going on with you, even when it was part of him being sick, making sure he was getting to the hospital, make sure he was doing all of these things, a doctor's appointment. You know, he was legally blind because he didn't go get his cataracts fit. You know, it was so many things, and so he had to rely so heavily on family. And just imagine if his sister did not have the legacy that she had to go in and step in, because she's 9, she's older, as old as him. She can't do it all. So we had to keep going in, taking turns to take care of him, something that his family would have done had he had it. You understand what I'm saying? I think that people be sleeping on kids.
No,
And
it
they don't
really
understand
like my
kids.
grandfather. He taught me, like, he was like, by the time you're 30, you should have, like, if you know 1,000 people, 800 of them should owe you a favor that you never asked for nothing back for. You have to pay into people, even if you don't expect nothing back. You have to live your life in a way where you provide a service to other people. So if you did ever fall on hard times, not that you would expect people to do things for you, but people would be way more willing to come to your aid than, oh damn, I'm cracking, I'm out, I'll be right back.
What's going on with the crack show? Somebody said he was cracking in the chat or something. That's
I
why.
did.
Oh, you mistaken. So I think that people sleep on that. They think of legacy as being legacy is there to help you. That's an investment also. When you get of age, those are people who are going to decide where your fate. You know where you go, how well you are going to be taken care of in your old age. That's important, at least to me. So.
Mhm.
It may not be important to people because they're thinking selfishly. They're thinking about okay now, and they're thinking, oh no, I'm gonna be this. Then you know, life happens. Y'all, life happens. I had a friend. He was 30 something years. Well, he was my child's father's friend. He he had leukemia in his 30s, and he stopped getting chemo because he couldn't find anybody to take him, and he didn't tell anybody. It was just like, and I'm like, what? Like you could call me and I would have taken you, even though we weren't even close like that. So and just think that was at a younger age. Imagine being on an older age, you know, and you don't have people to look after you because that becomes a responsibility. You know, health is a responsibility. And so you have to have somebody who's dedicated to your health, just like you are. This is mine taking you to doctor's appointment, especially if something's going on, you know, back and forth, riding it out with you, that companionship, whether it be not necessarily your lover, but maybe a family member. Those things are important. And I think that people just
That's
don't.
why you need to get married.
Huh?
Well, I was
That's
just gonna,
another
I was
reason.
Trigger
just
Mike,
gonna
you've
say,
probably seen that a lot in the hospital setting, like
what?
this side of when people are sick, like especially older people or whatever, depending on like the patients you worked with. But I
Oh
hear
yeah,
from my sister all the time. She's a nurse, and it's just sad stories of
oh
just
yeah.
people not
So
having family.
this is the part. This is the logical part when we say that women need men, and all of this stuff. Like they don't understand the other side of it. Just today, I was telling her, you know, it was Anna. I was like, have you thought about what's gonna happen or how you're gonna feel when you're 33, 43, 53? See, have you thought about any of that? See, the interesting thing is that women are declining in the number of kids that they're having,
They
or
are.
they're not getting married, or they're not having kids altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that there's going to be no one to take care of you?
Mm-hmm.
All of this BS that they're talking about, I can take care of myself until when? A girl made a funny joke to say that her life is going to be no different, that she's just going to see my widow in the nursing home because all women end up alone.